Welcome to Journey Home Radio, discussing the most important topics around life's most sacred goodbye. This is Journey Home Radio.
Welcome to Journey Home Radio, where farewell meets forever. I'm Tessa,
And I'm Iris.
and today we have a very special guest.
Yes,
Go ahead, please.
we are so excited to have Miss Shelby Lane with us. She is our new general manager at Singing Hills Memorial Park. Welcome, Shelby.
Thank you for having me.
Shelby, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, born in California, and my family's from California, and I sang professionally for 20 years and performed for the troops in Iraq and Kosovo and Kuwait. And then I retired from music, moved to Arizona, and started a whole new life, phase two, and that's where I started in this industry, and it was really quite a journey for me. And I guess that's kind of just a very short version.
Okay.
Did you ever see yourself in this industry?
You know, what's funny is I've loved cemeteries since I was a little kid. I don't know what my obsession has been since I was really little, but I do remember in the third grade doing a field trip to a historic cemetery in my hometown where I grew up. And I had never been to a cemetery before in my whole life at that point, but I just thought, this is such a peaceful and beautiful place. I love it so much. But I didn't realize until much later on how that actual event really shaped my future, which was really quite profound when I remembered that that was where that love came from. So I've loved them since I was little.
That's cool. Can you share with us a little bit about what got you intrigued into this profession?
Sure. So I was working in the automotive industry, and I had a mentee of mine who took his own life, and it really profoundly affected me to the point of where I couldn't even walk into the same building where I'd been working for several years. I went to another location, was working at a totally different place, and I met a lady who was a family service advisor, and I was like, what are you doing? I want to understand what you're doing. And just so happened that she worked at the facility that had handled my friend's arrangements and handled his service, and they did a really beautiful job of remembering his life, and it affected me so much. I was like, you know what, this is what I'm meant to do. This is my calling. And I really felt like a really strong calling. I left the automotive industry altogether very quickly, and that lady and I are still really close friends to this day. So it was really something that profoundly affected me and changed my entire life.
There was no coincidence there that she went to your car dealership.
Right? It's crazy. I don't even, like, I can't wrap my brain around how it all happened, but everything happens for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. I think we kind of all discover that going into this profession. I think we all kind of receive that calling individually. Shelby, what can you share with us about your time that you started as being as a, I guess we call it a death care professional. That's really what our services are for. Can you just share a little bit about your first experience and like your first thoughts and coming into this profession and what you learned?
So I like to call us last responders. I don't know if anybody else uses that terminology, but I really like it because I think that's really kind of who we are. I've experienced a lot. Like, I started kind of in this business right around COVID. So of course I dealt with a lot of cases very early on in my entire career, and I've dealt with a lot of different aspects of it. I've seen all different types of situations, but the unfortunate thing I've seen the most of is when families are unprepared and they come in and they're like, I have no idea what to do, and I have no idea what they wanted because they never had that tough conversation. And I think that's a really common situation with most families. I'm just going to veer off real quick because my uncle passed away 3 years ago, And when he passed away, he had no pre-plans. And of course, the first call everybody made was to me. They're like, Shelby, what do you think we should do? I'm like, I don't know. Did he have any arrangements? And of course, nobody had any idea. And they're like, well, what do you think he would want? I mean, luckily, I had actually the most experience with him because I had helped him with the cremation of his best friend who he took care of in his later years. So I knew that that's what he had done for him. So I was like, I think that's probably what he would want. But of course, I'll never have that verification or, know for sure that that's exactly what he wanted because there's no way for me to have that ability to have that connection. Also, no idea where to put his ashes. So now that he's cremated, he is like in most families currently, like 3 out of 5 homes in America have at least one set of cremated remains at home, which is not a good long-term plan, but that's exactly where he is. He's been in my parents' closet for the last 3 years. But we're working on a long-term plan now that probate is closed, which is a whole nother ball of wax that if you have the ability to avoid going through probate with a family, with your family, I suggest it. So if you have the ability to set up a trust, even just something really simple, it will alleviate a lot of financial and emotional stress on your family because it's a lot. 3 years of being in this process has been a lot, and just even though nothing was contested, people are like always concerned about, things are contested. That's not what happened at all with my family. It's just a lot of red tape because they want to make sure that they're making the, heaven forbid somebody come out of the woodwork that, thought that they had a claim to somebody's estate. So that's, it can be very tricky. It can be a very tricky situation. So I've learned a lot from this business and I can attest to, pre-planning being something so incredibly important that people do not understand the real value of it until it's too late.
Yeah, I agree.
And we were talking about it earlier. It's also very expensive.
Yeah. Like this whole situation with my uncle, my family had to pay for all the legal fees. You have to hire an attorney. You can't just go and represent your own self in the situation. You have to hire a legal professional. I mean, unless you're an attorney, then I suppose you could potentially do it, but that's a whole other thing. So, you've got all those legal expenses and court expenses, and then all the money for that entire probate is all just tied up in it, and you can't touch the money, which is a bummer. It sounds really difficult.
What is something that you're hoping that excites you about serving our community at Singing Home?
I think that the community that we're Singing Hills in is such a beautiful little pocket in the East County that a lot of people don't even know exists. So I'm hoping that there's a few things I'm hoping to be able to bring to the community is making it less scary because a lot of people are like, cemeteries are creepy. And, I'm like, they are super not. They are the opposite of creepy. They are incredibly peaceful. They're beautiful. And I think that I want to bring that community aspect to our park and have events where people can see that it's not a scary place, that it's really just a beautiful place to memorialize the people that you love.
Many people are unfamiliar with what a cemetery manager does. Can you share what your role involves, Shelby?
There's so much to it, and it changes every day,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Because every family we serve is so different. I just try and manage all the different aspects of things going on. There could be a situation with wildlife. There could be, we've got new hires. We've got, different processes that we need to make sure are taking place. There's a lot of administrative sort of things. So we actually do a lot of, like before we do a placement of an individual, they're like, they hear horror stories about people being buried in the wrong spaces and that sort of thing, then people get concerned about that because that kind of stuff makes the news, right? But we do checks where we make sure that those people are going to be placed in the right place, and we have lots of different people who go back over it and check it before we do a placement. So we try and keep all that stuff behind the curtain so that it doesn't affect any of our families, right? That's one of the beauties of what we do is there's so much behind the curtain work that we do, so it makes things more comfortable for each and every family that we serve. So there's so much that we do. It's really hard to even pinpoint on a day-to-day basis. I do all the social media postings. I'm I'm really trying to get us more on social media, and we want to start, maybe doing some live stuff on different platforms, talking about questions like kind of what we're doing right now,
Mhm.
but to reach other audiences that may or may not listen to the radio or may not listen to podcasts. We want to reach more people and give them information about pre-planning and the non-scariness of the cemetery.
Me too. Every day is definitely different.
Absolutely. It's never boring, right?
It's definitely not boring.
Never ever boring. No 2 days are ever the same.
That's very true.
I think that's the part that just makes me so happy is because, I get bored very easily and I love having a challenge every day, and there is absolutely at least one a day.
100%. Yes, I agree with that. What's something that you hope families would like to experience when they come to visit Green Hills?
Just a park tour, just seeing what we have to offer because there's so many different options. People don't realize like how many different ways we can do placements, right?
Mhm.
We have group placement, which is called an ossuary. A lot of people don't even know what that word means. So if you didn't necessarily want to do a scattering, because most of the time that's a class 5 felony in the state of California, you can do something called an ossuary placement, which is usually very cost effective. It is a group placement. It's really no different than you would be doing if you were scattering, right?
Mhm.
So it's a nice option for certain people that's a good fit for. We also have in-ground burials of cremations, traditional burials, and then we have above ground. And so like seeing all the different options, we've got stuff by a little creek, we've got a pond, we've got our wildlife. We have a brand new mausoleum that's going to be built very soon. It's in the process. So, we've got so many options that I think really people should see before judging anything. They need to see it, see how beautiful it is and how peaceful it is.
Um, what is what's a misconception that you've noticed about people pre-planning that you would like to address or kind of help guide people to feel more at ease about pre-planning?
Yeah. So one of the things I think that there's a lot of people who are kind of superstitious about it. They're like, if I'm in a pre-plan, that means I'm going to die soon. That is not what it means. If you've made a decision on kind of what you want, because I've heard lots of people that are like, oh, that's the kind of work you do. Well, I'm going to be cremated. I'm like, great. Did you pre-plan that? Did you pre-plan that? Because you should, and other people are like, I've had somebody tell me, they're like, yeah, I want to be burnt on a Viking ship in the middle of a body of water. I'm like, I mean, okay, that's interesting. But if you don't put your wishes in writing, or you don't tell anybody, and you don't have that conversation with anybody, then how is anybody going to know that that's what you want?
Right.
They'll convey that information to me. I could be standing in line at the grocery store, right? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be cremated. I'm like, okay, great. Did you tell anybody other than me? Am I the only person who knows? Did you tell your kids? Did you tell
Yeah.
your spouse? The question is, are you actually having that conversation? Which is the hardest part, I think, for people, because the whole aspect of mortality, I think, is scary for people,
Yes.
and they don't want to think about it. But we know that, like, we plan for potential for our kids going to college. We plan for potentially maybe a car accident or having health issues. We have all these different types of insurances, right, for things that could happen. But heaven forbid, we plan for something we know is going to happen, which is so silly to me. It's like, why would we not do this?
Right.
Right.
I know a lot of families that are in the military. We're in a military city, right? And they'll say, "Oh, I'm in the military. The military will take care of that." But we still have to pre-plan.
Yeah.
They don't understand that the military does not take care of picking up from place of passing, refrigeration, embalming, casketing, cremation. They have to get inside of the gates of the National Cemetery before the VA takes over for any of that expense. And unless you die in combat, in active duty in general, they don't cover those things. And a lot of people have the misconception, and it goes back generations. I've had Vietnam veterans say that to me, and I'm like, do you have proofs and papers saying, oh, that they'll do this for you? And I'm like, you don't have it because it's not a thing.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that because maybe they got misinformation, 40 years ago, and they don't know that either the VA rules have changed, which I don't think they've changed that much, so they would cover that. But they also don't understand that it's not completely covered.
Right. Yeah, nothing is free.
No,
Exactly.
Nothing is free
absolutely
in this
true.
business.
Yeah.
Um, can you explain maybe the difference between like pre-planning cemetery arrangements and funeral arrangements? Why those two are two separate components?
Sure. So basically, what I look at the end of life is like a tree, and you have two aspects, two big branches of the end of life planning. So one branch is your final resting place, and that's going to be, memorialization of, a vault of some sort, and your placement in your final location. And then the other half is anything that happens like to the body itself. That's the funeral or the cremation aspect of things. So it's really two major branches, and they're very separate. They're completely separate legally as well as for planning. So that's how I look at it.
And for those of you just tuning in, this is Journey Home Radio. I'm your host, Iris. I'm here with Tessa, and we are welcoming our new general manager at Singing Hills Memorial Park. We are here with Shelby Lane. Shelby is giving us a little information about her experience as a last responder and sharing some insight. And Shelby, what's something that you'd like to see Singing Hills continue to grow in? And can you share some like anything that you have plans that you'd like to see happen at Singing Hills?
I want to do a lot more hosting community events. I think that normalizing and making, like I had mentioned earlier, the park less scary for people, and cemeteries in general need to be less scary to people because they are not a scary place. So I'd like to be, I've hosted pet adoptions, trunk or treats for Halloween, as well as I've done different cultural events for different cultures at my parks in the past. Also done blood drives, and let's see here, we've done craft events and different markets of different types, like farmers markets.
Oh, okay.
So it's a utilization of our space that we have, in just in a different way. That could be beneficial to the community. Again, getting people in to see how beautiful our park is and not in a scary fashion.
What's your favorite part about the park so far that that intrigues you? Like, what was that moment when you stepped foot and you're like, I love this, or this is it.
I love Whispering Waters.
Yeah.
It's so pretty, because I love just the little stream that we have. It's so cute, and Jack's done such a beautiful job at setting it up in such a unique way. I've never seen a park set up this way, and I've been to a lot of cemeteries in my time. And it's just so peaceful and so beautiful. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely come and see it.
Shelby, how important is personalization today, and what are some meaningful ways families can celebrate a loved one's life?
There are so many options, like it's almost countless. I've seen so many different things over the years. Um, I've seen just at like graveside services. I had the pleasure of working with a family who they were incredible. They were very involved in their church. They had a choir at the graveside.
Oh,
I decided right then, I'm like, that is what I want.
wow. Full choir.
A
Wow.
whole choir. And let me tell you, I was like in tears. It was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful honor for their loved one that they lost. It was so beautiful. But I've also seen things like, of course, most of us have seen, they have butterfly releases, they have dove releases. I've also had a full brass uh, New Orleans band,
Oh, wow.
which was really neat. We marched out, like the coach came behind the full, like it was like a 12-piece band,
Wow.
and we marched out to the crypt to do the placement, which was amazing. I've seen so many different ways of doing things. I've seen balloon releases, I've seen fireworks, I've just seen so many different ways to personalize just the graveside service, which a lot of cases it's not even like the full goodbye. It's just a small portion of the goodbye. I've seen so many different ways to do it. And there's just so much potential
Mhm.
for personalization. I had one service years ago where we all dressed in purple because we knew that was her
Mm.
favorite color. So even I was all decked out in purple.
Mhm.
She had this incredible purple casket, like
Mm.
like metallic purple. It was
Ooh.
amazing. I have never seen a casket like that before. So you can do all kinds of things to make it really completely unique.
Mhm.
I know that there's a gentleman who is actually buried in his favorite Mercedes-Benz convertible in Las Vegas,
Oh.
Oh,
in a memorial park there. You, you,
I've seen,
it's a thing.
yeah, I've seen that where people get
Interesting.
late dressed with like their muscle cars.
He was buried in
The
his car.
car.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had to buy a bunch of spaces,
Oh.
but
Yeah, yeah, you gotta buy a bunch of spaces to do that.
yeah, it's kind of a trip. You just, there's so many different options. Like
Very.
it's pretty
Mhm.
much as you can imagine. If you can come up with something, you could probably figure out something
Mhm.
that'll work for you and honor the memory of your loved one.
Um, for families choosing cremation, what's some options or tips that you would have about keeping an urn at home and why we would why it's important to find a final resting place, even if you are going to keep it for a while.
And I totally get keeping an urn for a while because you want to still be close to them. I totally understand that. There's a lot of things that I don't think it's a great long-term plan
Hmm.
because I mentioned earlier the national statistic is that 3 out of 5 homes have cremated remains at home. But you're not going to expect your children to hold on to cremated remains of your family, the prior generation and another prior generation. You're going to have a whole
Hmm.
bookcase full of people's remains in your house. It's not sustainable,
Right.
and nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'm not. I can't say that. Most people want to do that because it's
Mhm.
a little peculiar, but um, you know, having a long-term plan, um, figuring out what you want to do with those remains. What we're doing with my uncle is we're going to have his ashes buried, which is something you can do next to his parents.
Hmm.
And so, but my aunts and uncles didn't even think about that. Like I brought that as an idea because I know my uncle went to go visit my grandparents because he replaced their headstone a few years back. So I'm like, I know he went there on a pretty regular basis. So I'm going to have him placed right next to his parents. So you can do all kinds of different options. They do have legal scattering options. We have niches, which is like a little cubby in a wall. We even have like custom like little rocks that they can be placed in. We've got, you can be placed all sorts of different places as well as at ossuary, which I mentioned earlier. Having a good long-term plan is a really good option because um, I don't want to tote around my loved ones forever,
Hmm.
and I don't want to make my children do it. Not a good long-term plan.
I was working one afternoon and these three brothers walked in and they had a garbage bag with like 4 urns, the
Oh,
parents and the grandparents.
Oh
And they're
wow.
like, we want to lay these urns to rest today.
oh,
Like, okay.
Uh,
And they had passed away over 20 years ago. So
yeah.
a
See,
lot of
not a good
time.
long-term plan.
Mhm.
And it does
exactly.
take a process. So, like, I know that some people, and I've had that happen. I had a lady come in one time. She had like 8 set of cremated remains. Yeah, and she wanted to lay them to rest that day. I'm like, it is not that simple because, like
Mhm.
I mentioned earlier, we have a process.
2 minutes.
So we need to make sure that we have the time to process all the paperwork because there's legalities involved and we want to protect everybody involved, including the decedents.
What's something that you would recommend families to start talking about so they can avoid those types of situations?
Having the difficult conversation, you know, what do you want? It took me
Mhm.
years, even in this business, before I figured out what I wanted, but I figured it out finally, which is half the battle. And then telling somebody, this is what I want.
Mhm.
Even in this business, I didn't know what I wanted for like 4 years.
Yeah, same.
I had no idea.
I just knew towards the end, I'm like, I don't think I want anybody viewing me, so we're gonna go cremation. Um,
There you go.
so, and Shelby, real quick, is there something that you'd like the listeners to know about Singing Hills before you sign on?
It's a beautiful boutique little cemetery that everybody should come in and see and experience.
Thank you, Shelby. And anybody that's listening, you are welcome to visit us at www.singinghillsmemorialpark.com or give us a call at 619-444-3000. We'd love to hear from you. Come in and schedule a park tour with myself or Tessa or any of the advisors and say hi to Shelby. And thank you all for tuning in. Have a blessed day.